Good morning all of you. Today we'll discuss the next part of this chapter, dual nature of radiation and matter. Today we'll discuss how classical wave theory failed to explain the photoelectric effect. We studied the photoelectric effect. We have drawn the graph of photoelectric effect, but something is the phenomena of photoelectric effect can be explained by the classical wave theory. In today's class, we will discuss this failure of classical wave theory, and next we will explain how Einstein explained this photoelectric effect. We will discuss in today's class. So first, let us discuss what are the failures of classical wave theory. First thing, that according to this wave theory, more intensity means more energy. Okay. Previously, they have according to wave theory. Suppose I will say there is a tree. Suppose it is a tree near a sea. Here is a sea, and near this sea there is a tree, and there is a fruit on the branches of tree. Okay. If a small wave will strike this tree, there is a possibility that this fruit may not detach from the branch, may not fall from the branch, from the tree. But if a large wave will hit this tree, what will happen? There is more possibility that this fruit will detach and fall from the tree. So here, this amplitude, if the amplitude is increased, the wave's amplitude is increased, the probability that emission is possible. So emission or detaching from this material is only possible if the amplitude of the wave is more, and we know that intensity is direct proportional to the amplitude. If the wave has more amplitude, that means it has more intensity. That means this wave 1 and wave 2, if we compare these two waves, I can say wave 1 has more intensity as compared to wave 2. So wave 1 has wave 1 has more energy to detach this fruit from the branch. This is according to wave theory. But in photoelectric effect, we have seen that how much may be the intensity, but if the frequency is not up to the mark, then the electron may not emit from the metal plate. So here, according to photoelectric effect, intensity is independent of energy, but according to classical theory, intensity depends on energy. So classical wave theory failed to explain how intensity is independent of energy. It failed to explain this. Second thing, that according to wave theory, incident radiation is independent of frequency. Okay, suppose I'll say same tree वाला example हम लेंगे. Suppose there are lots of small waves are there. They are striking this tree, right? Suppose 100 small waves are striking this tree. There is possibility that this fruit may not detach, because this small wave have no sufficient energy to detach this fruit from the branch. But if large waves come and strike this tree, there is a possibility that tree may detach. That means it has sufficient energy to detach the fruit from the tree. So according to this wave theory, here energy is independent of frequency, but it depends on intensity. So according to wave theory, your frequency is independent of energy. According to wave theory, energy depends on intensity. Depends on intensity of the wave, right? So, but according to photoelectric effect, what we observed that the energy of the photons, energy of the light depends on the frequency, not on the intensity. So wave theory failed to explain how frequency, energy of the energy is depending on the frequency, energy is depending on the wave theory failed to explain the threshold frequency concept. We know that below certain frequency, no photoelectrons can emit a metal plate. We have studied that there is a threshold frequency concept. How much may be the intensity, but below the threshold frequency, electron will not emit from the metal surface. So according to wave theory, incident radiation is independent of frequency, it only depends on intensity according to wave theory. अगर वेव थ्योरी की मान ले तो भाई ये जो फ्रूट गिरेगा ये किसी इंटेंस फ्रीक्वेंसी के ऊपर डिपेंड नहीं करेगा, ये डिपेंड करेगा इंटेंसिटी के ऊपर, कितना बड़ा वेव आके टकरा रहा है. तो ये वेव थ्योरी फेल हो गया एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए हाउ फ्रीक्वेंसी, व्हाट इज द नीड ऑफ थ्रेशोल्ड फ्रीक्वेंसी, how the energy in photoelectric effect depends on frequency. Third thing, the time lag. Time lag means, suppose it is a metal plate, a large number of waves are coming and striking this metal plate, right? When they are striking this when they are striking this metal space, the energy of the wave is equally distributed among the large surface area. So electron will get less energy, and then gradually when 2, 3 and more than one waves will strike this same electron, and electron will gain energy from more than one wave, then it can emit from the metal surface. That means it will take time to release from the metal surface. But experimentally we observed that in photoelectric effect, when the light strike the metal surface, at within no second the electron emitted from the metal surface. That means there is no time lag. This concept can be explained by the help of wave theory, classical wave theory. So these are the failures of classical wave theory. Next we will discuss how Einstein able to explain this photoelectric effect. Okay. Next part we'll study about Einstein's theory, how Einstein explained this photoelectric effect, right? So after the failure of this classical theory, Einstein came to the field and he explained the photoelectric effect. For this explanation of photoelectric effect, he got the Nobel Prize actually, right? The first thing, that is according to Einstein's theory, first thing is there is interaction between radiation and electron. So Einstein tried to explain this photoelectric effect by taking light as a particle. He considered light is made up of photons, packet of energy. We observed that when the balloon strikes the surface, some changes happen in this surface. Similarly, when the photons strike the metal surface, some changes happens on the surface. How? Look, same example. When the balloon strike it releases all its water on this metal surface. It strikes and try to release all its water on this metal surface. Similarly, when the photons strike the metal surface, it will release all its energy. उसके पास जितना भी एनर्जी था वो सारे क्या करेगा, मेटल सरफेस को दे देगा. तो क्या होगा, मेटल सरफेस विल गेन सम एनर्जी फ्रॉम द फोटन. द इलेक्ट्रॉन्स of the metal surface will gain some energy from the photons. So the energy of electrons will increase. The electrons which are free in the metal will gain some extra energy and they will release from the metal surface. By absorbing energy of photons, electrons gain some energy, so they are able to, so they become able to move away from metal surface. So they became able to move away from the metal surface. सब ऐसे समझते हैं, एक इलेक्ट्रॉन इधर है, आटम उसको खींच रहा है इधर, इसीलिए तो बाहर नहीं जा पा रहा है ना, आटम इसको खींच रहा है. ओके, मैंने एक फोटोन डाला इधर, फोटोन डाला, फोटोन ने क्या किया, इसको एनर्जी दे दिया, इस इलेक्ट्रॉन को एनर्जी दे दिया. सपोज ये 10 न्यूटन फोर्स से उसको खींच रहा था, 10 न्यूटन फोर्स से इसको खींच रहा था, या फिर हम बोल सकते हैं 10 जूल एनर्जी इससे इसको खींच रहा था, और मैंने इसको 10 जूल एनर्जी दे दिया, तो क्या होगा, ये अभी रिलीज हो सकता है. जितना एनर्जी दिया इसको खींच रहा था, उतना एनर्जी अगर दे देंगे तो क्या होगा, ये रिलीज हो सकता है. अगर उससे कम एनर्जी देंगे, अगर कोई एक फोटोन जिसके पास कम एनर्जी है, उस इतना कम एनर्जी देने से ये इलेक्ट्रॉन रिलीज नहीं होगा. तो यहाँ से आता है आपका वर्क फंक्शन कंसेप्ट. क्या होता है बेटा, देखिए, अगर मैंने एक फोटोन डाला जिस फोटोन के पास कितना एनर्जी है, 9 जूल एनर्जी है, इस फोटोन के पास कितना एनर्जी है, 9 जूल एनर्जी. अगर मैं एक फोटोन डालता हूँ जिसके पास 9 जूल एनर्जी है, फोटोन क्या है, पैकेट ऑफ एनर्जी, उस पैकेट में कितना एनर्जी है, 9 जूल, राइट. तो ये जब आके टकराएगा तो इलेक्ट्रॉन को कितना एनर्जी मिलेगा, 9 जूल एनर्जी मिलेगा, लेकिन ये आटम उसको कितना जोर से खींच रहा है, 10 जूल, राइट. तो ये इसका एनर्जी क्या है, कम है, तो ये रिलीज नहीं हो सकता. ओके, इसको रिलीज करने के लिए मुझे मिनिमम कितना एनर्जी देना पड़ेगा, 10 जूल एनर्जी देना पड़ेगा मुझे. इसको बोलते हैं हम वर्क function. The minimum energy required to release the electron from the metal surface is called your work function. तो यहीं से भी आता है आपका थ्रेशोल्ड फ्रीक्वेंसी कंसेप्ट. तो हर एक फोटोन का एक एनर्जी होता है, राइट. तो एनर्जी इसको बोलते हैं हम एच न्यू. एनर्जी ऑफ ईच फोटन इक्वल टू एच न्यू. एनर्जी ऑफ ईच फोटन इक्वल टू एच न्यू. दैट मीन्स एनर्जी इज रिलेटेड टू फ्रीक्वेंसी. तो 10 जूल वाला एनर्जी जिसके पास है, उसका फ्रीक्वेंसी जितना होगा, 10 जूल वाला एनर्जी जिसके पास है, उसका फ्रीक्वेंसी जितना होगा, उसको हम बोलेंगे उसका वर्क फंक्शन, सॉरी, इसको हम बोलेंगे उसका थ्रेशोल्ड फ्रीक्वेंसी. सो इस एच न्यू, इधर जो न्यू है, इस न्यू को हम बोलेंगे क्या, थ्रेशोल्ड फ्रीक्वेंसी. इस फ्रीक्वेंसी को हम क्या बोलेंगे, थ्रेशोल्ड फ्रीक्वेंसी. द मिनिमम फ्रीक्वेंसी रिक्वायर्ड टू मूव द इलेक्ट्रॉन आउट फ्रॉम द मेटल सरफेस इज कॉल्ड योर थ्रेशोल्ड फ्रीक्वेंसी. तो मुझे क्या ओवरऑल समझ में आया, फोटोन क्या होता है, पैकेट ऑफ एनर्जी, उसके पास एनर्जी है, अगर हम सफिशिएंट एनर्जी देंगे तभी ये इलेक्ट्रॉन एमिट हो पाएगा. और हमने क्या देखा कि थ्रेशोल्ड फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या होता है, हमने समझ लिया. ओके, तो अब आते हैं इस कंसेप्ट में आते हैं. तो फर्स्ट थिंग इज देयर इज इंटरेक्शन बिटवीन रेडिएशन एंड इलेक्ट्रॉन. तो हमने क्या देखा भाई, हम व्हेन विल थ्रो द फोटन, व्हेन वी थ्रो द लाइट, द फोटन्स विल कम एंड इंटरेक्ट विद द इलेक्ट्रॉन्स. सपोज इट इज अ मेटल सरफेस एंड लाइट इज फॉलिंग हियर, तो क्या होगा, ईच फोटन विल इंटरेक्ट विथ वन इलेक्ट्रॉन. Each photon will interact with one electron. Each photon will try to give all its energy to one electron. So there is an interaction between radiation and electron. Second thing, minimum energy is required. We explained this, that there is some minimum energy is required to move this electron out from this metal surface. That minimum frequency is called your work function. That minimum energy is called your work function. Third point, energy distributed in two ways. Look, when I am applying certain force, when suppose it is a metal surface and light is falling here. If one photon will interact with one electron, right? So when this photon, suppose this photon has some energy of 12 joule. It has energy of 12 joule. So what will happen? And its metal surface work function is, suppose work function will equal to 10 joule. Suppose the work function equal to 10 joule. So what will happen? Out of this 12 joule, 10 joule is required to move this electron out of the metal surface. Means to move this electron out of the atom, out of the metal surface. Rest 2 joule will help the electron to give, rest 2 joule will give the kinetic energy to the electron. So I can say here this 12 joule is divided or distributed in two ways. One, to move this electron from out of the metal surface. Second part, to give some kinetic energy to the electrons. So energy distributed in two ways. Okay, so these are some points of Einstein's theory. How Einstein explained the threshold frequency. We have studied that Einstein explained how threshold frequency is required for motion of electron, emission of electron. Without threshold frequency, no electron can emit from the metal surface. Next, there is, अगर आपका फ्रीक्वेंसी ही कम होगा, अगर फोटन का एनर्जी ही कम होगा, 9 जूल, सपोज 9 जूल फोटन हमने डाला और वर्क फंक्शन कितना है 10 जूल है, तो चाहे आप कितना भी 9 जूल वाला फोटन्स डाल दीजिए, कोई भी इलेक्ट्रॉन एमिट नहीं होगा, क्योंकि ईच फोटन विल इंटरेक्ट विथ वन इलेक्ट्रॉन, दिस फोटन विल इंटरेक्ट विथ अदर इलेक्ट्रॉन, सो ईच इलेक्ट्रॉन विल गेन 9 joule energy, and this is less than that work function. So electron has no sufficient energy to emit from the metal surface. So below that threshold frequency, no electron can emit from the metal surface. चाहे आपका इंटेंसिटी जितना भी हो, कितना भी आप फोटन डाल दीजिए, कितना भी आप लाइट डाल दीजिए, अगर फ्रीक्वेंसी कम है तो कोई भी आपका इलेक्ट्रॉन एमिट नहीं होगा. So this is as we have observed that in a photoelectric effect, emission of electron is independent of intensity. That was explained by Einstein also. Next, time lag. Einstein also explained there is that interaction, this interaction between photon and electron, there is no time lag. It is so sudden that there is no time lag in this interaction between photon and electron. So during this process there will be no time lag, कोई टाइम नहीं लगेगा. सडनली फोटोन आके टकराएगा तो सडनली इलेक्ट्रॉन एमिट हो जाएगा. सो ड्यूरिंग दिस इंटरेक्शन देयर इज नो टाइम लैग. तो ऑल दिस photoelectric emission effect was explained by Einstein. In the next class we will discuss about the photons. What is photon? We will discuss in detail in the next class. Thank you.